กำลังฟังสถานีวิทยุ AM 1575กิโลเฮิรตซ์สรานรมเรดิโอวิทยุการทูตเพื่อประชาชนเชื่อมไทยสู่โลกเชื่อมโลกสู่ไทย
Good morning. Welcome to MFA YouTube channel and MFA Facebook page. Having with us today is a very special guest, Kun Arienne Calingo, Miss World 2016 First Princess. Good morning, Ka Kun Calingo.
สวัสดีค่ะ. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. Yeah, I'm very much passionate about women's empowerment issues as well as youth empowerment issues. And I myself am an educator. So I studied international education policy at Harvard, specifically at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I went to Georgetown University for my undergraduate degree, and I had the opportunity to work in Thailand and Bangkok for the Office of the Higher Education Commission. So I'm very passionate about the ASEAN region, specifically Thailand and the Philippines. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity to speak with you today.
Okay, I know you have Thai name as well, the nickname, right?
Juan, yeah.
Juan,
I don't know
yeah.
if I'm pronouncing it correct though, because I know that in Thailand you have, is it 5 or 8 different accents?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like
sweet.
when I was learning a little bit of Thai, I learned the word cow, like cow, and like sometimes it's like white, sometimes it's rice, sometimes it means milk or something. So I don't know the different accents, but I know that my one means sweet, I think. Right. I just don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Okay, so maybe you have to come back and learn more about
Right.
Thai.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The first question is, as a new generation woman educator from ASEAN country and APEC economy, what improvement in education system must government and institution seeks to do considering the current global challenges like COVID-19, digital and youth empowerment? And the second question is how women empowerment be strengthened, especially in a turbulent global situation in the local context.
Yeah, thank you for these questions. I had some time to think about them, and I also actually presented on these two areas, both education as well as women empowerment, for the ASEAN Youth Organization. So I have some ideas of what I can say for both. For the first one, I do want to address maybe 3 areas of improvement. So the first would be support for students transition into the workforce through work integrated learning. So I know that when I was working in Thailand, actually, for the Bureau of International Cooperation Strategy, I wrote a report on this. So work integrated learning opportunities for students. So some examples would be internships or community-based or service learning, fieldwork, etc. I think that these opportunities need to be made available to students. I know that the Department of Education in the Philippines, they prioritize on-the-job training. So there's this OJT program for students, which is one of the most influential programs in the Philippines, specifically in the Philippine higher education system. And it's so integral to the Philippine higher education system. And I would love for, other ASEAN countries to have something similar. I'm not very aware if Thailand has something similar to OJT, but I've seen firsthand how students, because I used to work at Holy Angel University, and I've seen how some of my students, they really liked their OJT program because they were able to apply, what they learn in the classroom to a workplace setting. So I think that being able to apply knowledge from the classroom to the workforce would be essential, especially since after they graduate, they'll already have, a smooth transition or an idea of what the workforce is like. Second, I think that, students need to be able to utilize the digital skills that they've developed from the pandemic to the workforce in order to thrive in the post-pandemic labor market. So it would be great if there could be opportunities for students to be able to use these new digital skills, how they've been able to navigate edtech tools to the workforce. And I think that that's one thing. Second, there needs to be support for students in remote and marginalized areas. there's been this clear substantial digital equity gap or a digital divide of students. So this is in regard to the equity, access, and quality of educational programs, particularly in remote and marginalized areas. For me, I think that access equates to opportunity, and it's not possible to achieve true excellence in academics or in education rather without equity. So every student needs adequate access to student services, to support services, and instructional resources such as instructional technology in order to excel academically. And I know that with COVID, as you know, the COVID-19 measures on education have sort of created these high impact disruptions on how students learn. So with that being said, you know, with COVID, there's been a digital advancement of some sorts, which has forced colleges and universities to rethink how to implement higher education strategies and higher education policies. For me, it's not enough to only prioritize, however, the design, the analysis, and the selection of edtech tools, but rather colleges and universities must also consider ways to improve opportunities for educational access in order to ensure that all students, regardless of socioeconomic status, are getting, you know, these curriculum teachings and getting these lessons needed in order to thrive in school. And the third area of improvement, so the first one was in regard to work integrated learning. The second was in regard to students in remote and marginalized areas having access to education still. And the third is support for teachers and vocational trainers on the latest teaching methods and strategies. So the digital divide also exists among faculty members. I think that there's a generational divide among faculty members that separates younger faculty who might be more adept at utilizing newer technologies from those who may be more comfortable with using traditional methods of learning. So there was this rapid transition to online learning and foreign teaching, which has forced educators to adapt to changes at a very quick pace than ever before. Not only do teachers and do professors need to learn how to navigate these new edtech tools, but they also need to learn how to maintain students' attention and participation levels, which can easily plummet. I was a guest lecturer at Philippine Women's University, and I saw firsthand how some students, they just turned off their Zoom, their cameras on Zoom, and I didn't know whether they were paying attention or not. So I think there needs to be a way to really maintain their attention. So when I was a guest lecturer, the professor, he had created some like games for the students and prizes in order to really, you know, maintain their attention. So I think that that's a good idea. And in the midst of this educational disruption, something interesting I've seen is this collaboration between faculty members as well as support services. So usually support staff and faculty, there's kind of this divide, but I've seen them collaborate more in order to co-create and to revise curricula in order to adapt to virtual learning. So I think that I would love to see colleges and universities as well as secondary schools, you know, kind of implement that. So collaboration among faculty and support services all throughout.
And as your role in pageantry, how do you think your role, I mean, in the past, like 2016, give you a chance to raise up your voice or raise any issue of your interest about education in the Philippines? Because I know that the pageantry is a very interesting platform for the Filipinos to follow or to listen or to hear anything that you want to say.
Right. So when I competed in Miss World Philippines, I was the first princess to catch Arienne Gray, who became Miss Universe. And it was interesting because with Miss World Philippines, there's something called the Beauty with a Purpose project. With that being said, we had to have some sort of project or like some sort of volunteer work to address a social cause. And naturally, I gravitated towards education because that's something that I've been passionate about since I was 17 years old. And it was something that was inspired heavily by both my parents, particularly by my father, who was an educator himself. And with this BWAP, or Beauty with a Purpose project for Miss World Philippines, I created this initiative called Leaders in Education About Diversity, otherwise known as LEAD. So I created these educational programs, these enjoyable and engaging programs that I would bring to rural, remote areas in Angeles City, Pampanga, which has more than 2,500 street children. So I wanted to be able to create educational opportunities for them. Going back to this, my talk about digital divide, I wanted to create access to educational opportunities for these young children, even if they, aren't from, I guess, advantaged areas. I wanted to create these opportunities. So some of the programs that I created include, I had some lessons on like health and sanitation. I had another one on mathematics, which isn't necessarily my strongest subject, but I loved teaching them basic math skills. And one of my fortes is writing. So I had this creative writing, I guess, unit for the students as well. So I think that through pageantry, you have this ability to have a voice in your community. And fortunately, I was able to utilize my voice and to really empower youth in particular in order to raise awareness of educational issues in the Philippines.
And do you think that the government is doing enough to help students in the Philippines to get, access to the education right now, or what improvement that they need to do?
So that's a great question. I think that the government right now is doing the best that they can in order to, I guess, in order to, let me think of the words, improve the education system in the Philippines. However, one thing that needs to be prioritized is access to education in remote and rural communities. So when I was in the Philippines, I had the chance of living in both Metro Manila as well as a province called Pampanga. And when I was in Pampanga, I saw that there's a lot of students, a lot of youth that didn't have access to the educational tools that students in the city have. So I think that in provinces, there needs to be, I guess, more equitable access. They need to have access to educational tools, to educational resources, just as much as the students in Manila have. So that's my thought on that.
Yeah, because one of the issues that I was deal with during my post in Manila is education cooperation with the Philippines. So I see the effort of how the Department of Education try to have the, open for international cooperation, including with Thailand, to improve the education in the Philippines. So, yeah. So
how long were you in Manila for?
I was there for 4 years.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So can you speak Tagalog? Konti lang. Or...
Actually not.
No, it's fine because everyone in the Philippines speaks English
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah, I speak well English, so it's easy
and
for me.
Right. And Kun Nick was also in Manila from what he told me. So I think that's interesting.
Can we talk about the youth empowerment? You know that that's one of the issue in APEC, because Thailand is hosting the APEC this year. So you have any idea about youth empowerment, women empowerment? What can we do to improve that?
As an educator, I'm always a fan of revising curricula. So I think that there needs to be some sort of diversity requirement. I know that in the US, a lot of US colleges and universities now have this diversity requirement in which they address social issues in their curricula. And I think the ASEAN, I'm not sure if all ASEAN member countries are ready for this, but having a similar requirement would be good, or at least integrating lessons on women empowerment and youth empowerment into the curricula, whether it's in sociology classes or psychology classes, etc. They would probably be implemented in more like social studies classes. But anyway, having something like that would be good, so students can learn about these issues in the classroom and be able to discuss these issues with their peers as well as with their teachers and professors. So that's one idea that I have, revising educational curricula in order to talk about these issues and to come up with solutions.
And I also have learned that you also working in Thailand before.
Oh yeah,
in
yeah.
education. What kind of job that you?
Yeah, so right after I graduated from Georgetown, I worked for the Bureau of International Cooperation Strategy, BICS, which is part of the Ministry of Education. It's specifically part of the Office of the Higher Education Commission. And it was so interesting working there. I was in Payatai, and I feel like I had to learn like basic Thai, very nitnoi, so I'm not fluent, but putai dai nitnoi. And it was interesting because I got to, work with senior administrators. I mean, I was the English, I guess, teacher to the Deputy Secretary General. And also what was interesting about that role was that I got to sit in a lot of meetings with other ASEAN member countries. So oftentimes they would discuss like internationalization efforts among the ASEAN member states. And it was interesting to hear other people's perspectives, Brunei, Philippines, etc., on how to increase internationalization efforts. And if I could, I would love to live and work in Thailand again at some point.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for you to
I'd love to meet you both in person, right?
So this is the end of the interview today. Thank you so much for sharing your insight with us. That's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
กว่า 33 ปี APEC ไม่เคยหยุดพัฒนาเพื่ออนาคตเศรษฐกิจที่เปิดกว้างเชื่อมโยงและสมดุล
ไม่หยุดเปิดรับโอกาสใหม่ๆเพื่อช่วยผลักดันการค้าการลงทุนไปสู่ระดับโลก
ไม่หยุดเปิดรับนวัตกรรมใหม่ๆเพื่อเพิ่มผลผลิตและสร้างความยั่งยืน
ไม่หยุดเปิดสู่การค้ารูปแบบใหม่เพื่อปรับตัวไปกับความเปลี่ยนแปลง
ไม่หยุดเชื่อมต่อเพื่อเชื่อมโยงภูมิภาคเข้าหากันและปลดล็อกศักยภาพที่ไร้ขีดจำกัด
ไม่หยุดเชื่อมโยงโอกาสใหม่ๆกับวิถีชีวิตแบบใหม่
ไม่หยุดเชื่อมโยงดิจิทัลให้ครอบคลุมทุกพื้นที่เพื่อสร้างความเติบโตที่ยั่งยืน
ไม่หยุดเชื่อมโยงเทคโนโลยีเพื่อสุขภาวะที่ดีและเศรษฐกิจที่ก้าวไปข้างหน้า
ไม่หยุดคิดค้นนวัตกรรมแปรรูปอาหารเพื่อลดขยะ
ไม่หยุดคิดค้นนวัตกรรมเพื่อสร้างสมดุลให้อนาคตที่ยั่งยืนของพวกเรา
เพราะเราไม่เคยหยุดมุ่งมั่นเพื่อวันข้างหน้าที่ดีวันนี้เราจึงพร้อมเปิดกว้างทุกโอกาสเชื่อมโยงในทุกมิติและสร้างสมดุลในทุกด้าน